Every screen print shop must have an exposure unit in order to be able to burn a film positive onto a screen to essentially create our finished stencil. Now, exposure units come in all sizes and they can really range in price, and it's very important that this is one of the main pieces of equipment in your shop that you don't want to skimp out on and kind of buy something cheap. Now, when it comes to exposure units themselves, a good way to look at it is it's a big light box. So once you open the top, inside here are bulbs. And newer exposure units nowadays are actually filled with LED bulbs. And the reason why LED bulbs are better are, one, they last a lot longer, and two, it takes a lot less time to actually burn a screen. So when it comes to an exposure unit itself, it's primarily, again, made up of your light box, and then the top here is essentially a big vacuum gasket. What we want to do is, once we put our film on the screen, which we often want to do using a handy tool called a registration tool, and once we actually put the film on here, which we can register using bullseyes, we can then bring it over to our exposure unit, lift up the lid, place the screen in the center of the unit, take your rope, put it inside there, close it, and essentially we have a big vacuum that will suck down the top portion, this rubber, and again, create that gasket where it's pushing the film against the screen, preventing any light from coming through the edges and so forth and creating any problems. Realize that, you know, the process of exposing the screen, it might seem simple right here, but there's a lot of steps that go into knowing how long each type of mesh, emulsion, mesh color, there's so many variables that go into actually exposing the screen, including the unit itself. So you've got to do a lot of testing to dial in your exposure times. Now, when it comes to exposing the screen though, one of the most importantly overlooked aspects of burning the screen is actually making sure that this unit stays as clean as possible. We have a big glass box at the top here with containing all of our lights. What we don't want is we don't want any dirt or debris essentially making its way onto the glass, and then when we go to burn a screen, it's actually burning that into the artwork, which is not going to be good. So what you want to have is glass cleaner, and you want to make sure that the surface is completely clean, sometimes even using a razor blade to kind of just scrape the actual surface. One of the best ways to keep this surface clean though is always keep the lid shut until you actually have to use it. When you're selecting an exposure unit, it's very important that you think about the size of screens you're going to be burning. So make sure that you're getting a unit that is going to be able to handle the largest size screen that you potentially might be using. Now this unit, for example, it will can burn any screens up to a 23 by 31, but it has no problems burning a 20 by 24 or any other screen that's smaller. When you're selecting exposure unit 2, realize that a lot of times you can even set presets inside the machine itself. This is very handy because every type of mesh, count, and color is going to have different exposure times, and by being able to store presets, you kind of reduce the risk of the person burning the screen forgetting to adjust the right amount of time. If you have any questions on how to choose the right exposure unit for your print shop or anything else related to screen printing, please do not hesitate contacting us. Thank you.